My school is inside an abandoned mall, and we don't graduate, we just vanish. The screams of the mob were the only thing I knew for sure, and then they were gone. One minute I was about to be torn apart, the next I was crawling through the guts of the mall, the smell of dust and dead rats filling my lungs. Miro was just a silhouette ahead of me, the light from his tablet painting shifting patterns on the pipes and wires we squeezed between. He slid the floor tile back into place behind us, and the world went dark and quiet. The silence was worse than the screaming. Soon, a new sound bled through the walls. The manic, looping chip tunes of an arcade, a ghost of laughter and joy. Miro stopped at a thick, rust-red pipe and pulled a loose brick from the wall. He tapped out a rhythm against the metal, a quick, syncopated beat. Tap, 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 tap. A pause, then a square of ceiling tile below us shifted, sliding open on some unseen hinge. A sliver of stark white light cut through the darkness. A face peered up, a skinny kid with huge, reflective sport goggles pushed up on his forehead. "You're late," he said. His voice was flat, annoyed, and he brought a stray. "He's with me," Miro said from his perch, not even bothering to sound apologetic. "Cal, this is Kaz. Cal, he's new. First day was a fucking baptism by fire." "Looks it," Kaz muttered. His eyes flicked to my sleeve, where a dark smear of blood and grime was already stiffening the fabric. He moved aside, revealing a small metal ladder leading down. I hesitated, my whole body screaming at me not to go deeper into this place, but what choice did I have? I followed Miro down into what looked like an old stockroom. It was lit by a web of grow lights, their purple-white glare humming from hacked-together power strips. The noise from the arcade next door was a constant, deafening roar, a perfect blanket of sound to cover whatever was happening in here. "No door?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. There was. A girl with a blowtorch in her hand looked up from a circuit board, not even flinching at the blue flame. She wore a patched bomber jacket and a look of pure irritation. The air smelled like burnt plastic and ozone. "Who's the new blood?" "Name's Cal," Miro answered for me, slumping into a ripped office chair that looked like it had been through a war. "Fresh meat for the Colico mines. Future Ranger, if he's got the stomach for it." The girl killed the torch. "Lyra," she said, tucking a stray strand of blonde hair behind her ear. "Don't touch my shit." Kaz tossed me a bottle of lukewarm snack vault water and collapsed onto a beanbag chair that wheezed dust. "You got that look," he said. "Go on, spit it out." That woman," I stammered, rubbing my shoulder where I'd hit the floor. "The facilitator. She just fell. And nobody did anything. Nobody could do anything," Lyra said without looking up. "Most of the facilitators are so jacked up on clarity just to get through the day. Every so often, one of them shorts out." "Shorts out?" "They're on the FutureFunds system too," she explained, her voice low and grim. "Their balance hits zero, the system cuts them off. Housing pod, food access, clinic meds, all of it gone." I took a shaky sip of water. It tasted like metal. "So what is this place?" I asked, looking around at the mess of wires and salvage tech. "This Ranger thing," Kaz snorted. "Not the merry band of heroes Miro probably sold you on. We're janitors. We're the goddamn IT department. We keep the life support on in the shithole because nobody else will." Miro just grinned. "And the weekly fun top-off doesn't hurt." I tried to smile back, but my face wouldn't cooperate. I appreciate it. You saving me. But why me? Why bring me in on this? Isn't it obvious? Miro's grin widened. We were short-handed for the Monday sewage pump maintenance. "Jesus, Miro, give the kid a break," Kaz groaned. "It's not some secret society, kid. They stick a couple of us in every learning zone." Miro just lost his favorite chew toy, Rohan, and needed a new ear to talk off. Miro's smile vanished. He stared at Kaz, and for the first time, I saw something hard and dangerous in his eyes. "Rohan didn't just get lost," he said, his voice tight. He zeroed out. "Last week. And you," he jabbed a finger at me, "have his tablet." I froze. The tablet in my lap suddenly felt like it was burning me. I'd been so panicked I hadn't even thought about where it came from. "We tried to pull for him," Lyra said softly, her eyes fixed on her workbench. "Sent what we had. But it wasn't enough. The system flagged his account for irregular activity and locked it. They said he was accepted into a vocational enrichment program," Kaz added, making air quotes with his fingers. "Nobody ever comes back from one of those." Miro's face was pale. His dorm cam went dead the next day. Then his profile was scrubbed from the network. Just gone. "We don't think he's dead," Lyra added quickly, maybe for my benefit. "They probably just shipped him off to some fulfillment center on the ass end of the state." "Slave labor." "Probably," Kaz shrugged. "We've got theories. None of them are good." I tried to take a deep breath, but my lungs felt like they were full of concrete. Why hasn't anyone told the outside world? Exposed this place? Kaz looked at me, and his expression was just hollow. "Every piece of data, every message, every goddamn keystroke is logged and tagged with your eSig. The tablets don't connect to any outside network. The second you step off property, if you ever do, they're remotely wiped. You can't prove a thing." No one said anything for a long time after that. Just the hum of the grow lights and the weak rattle of a ceiling fan pushing the stale, burnt air around and around. The next few weeks weren't measured in days. They were measured in the automated chimes of the learning pods, the drone of Colaco ads, and the slow, steady drain of my FutureFunds. I moved through the mall's reanimated corpse in a daze. The air always felt heavy, charged with a static that made the hair on my arm stand up. Miro became my shadow, guiding me through the labyrinth of neon and recycled air. I clung to him, not because I liked him, but because being alone in this place felt like a death sentence. The boredom in the study pods was a physical thing, a thick, sweet poison that coated my thoughts. The work shifts were worse, standing under the buzzing red glow of the Colaco sign, my own reflection staring back from the vending machine glass, looking stretched and wrong, like something was pushing against it from the other side. Nights were no escape. I'd retreat to the Rangers' hideout, the reek of solder and the glow of monitors searing my already fried senses. Lyra's sharp commands and Kaz's cynical muttering became the soundtrack to my life. They worked like everything was normal, but I could feel it. Every circuit they patched, every pipe they unclogged, it wasn't just maintenance. It was a ritual, a prayer to keep the mall from finally swallowing itself whole. Sleep was a luxury I couldn't afford. When I finally passed out on the lumpy cot they gave me, my dreams were filled with the mall as it must have been. A vast, echoing cathedral of commerce. But the mannequins in the shuttered storefronts were moving. Their jointed plastic arms weren't displaying clothes. They were reaching up, worshiping the buzzing fluorescent lights above. And there was a carousel. I'd wake up drenched in sweat, the phantom sound of calliope music echoing in the vents. Even though I knew the carousel had been torn out years ago, no one else ever heard it. But sometimes, Miro would look at me, a flicker of shared terror in his eyes, before his usual grin snapped back into place. After a few weeks, I knew, deep in my bones, that something under the polished floors was awake, and it was calling to me. In the dreams, the carousel horses were gone. In their place were my classmates, Miro, Kaz, Lyra, all of them. They were strapped onto the platform, held in place by gleaming gold poles that went straight through their backs. They bobbed up and down in time with the horrible, tinkling music, up and down, around and around. The sleep deprivation took its toll. I started nodding off in the pods, the tablet screaming at me with punishing alerts, each one a little bite out of my FutureFunds. The red numbers dwindled. Every mistake I made, every slow response, was logged. The facilitators, their eyes glassy and distant, would just mark me down without a word. I could feel the zero getting closer, a black hole waiting to suck away my food, my cot, my existence. My work at Colaco got sloppy. My hands started shaking so badly I'd spill the syrup, sticky rivers of red and brown pooling on the counter. The supervisor's voice, a distorted, robotic bark through the comms, would call for Lyra. "Correct the asset," it would say. And I'd flinch, waiting for her to come and fix my mess. My reflection in the vending machine started to get worse. At first I thought it was just the exhaustion. The hollowed out cheeks, the dark circles under my eyes. But then I saw it move when I didn't. Just a twitch of the lips. A slow, cruel smile I wasn't making. Its head lolled to one side, its posture bent and broken. And then I saw it behind my reflection, faint like a ghost in the machine. The carousel. It was spinning. The silhouettes of children were rising and falling, impaled on those golden rods. Their movements were jerky, unnatural, puppets in a show for an audience of no one. I stumbled back from the machine, my heart hammering against my ribs. "Whoa, Cal. You good?" Miro asked, grabbing my arm to steady me. I couldn't speak. I just nodded, my eyes wide. Even after I looked away, I could still feel it. That slow, grinding rotation, a phantom rhythm inside my own skull, pulling me apart. That's when I understood. The exhaustion wasn't a side effect. It was the point. They wanted us tired, broken. Sleep creates dreams. Dreams create questions. Questions create rebellion. Every waking moment was another thread in the web. Every lost fund, every slip-up, every time my reflection smiled back at me, was just pulling that web tighter. I was in the hideout, trying to focus on a wiring diagram, when the voice boomed through the mall. It wasn't just a sound from the PA system. It felt like it came from the building itself, a deep, resonant vibration that shook the dust from the pipes above us. "Calhoun West, report to the director's suite, immediately." The words echoed, clinging to the empty atriums and dark corridors like a disease. The arcade machines next door fell silent. Every light in our hideout flickered. Lyra put her soldering iron down, the tip glowing like a malevolent red eye. Myro's grin was gone, replaced by a mask of raw fear. In the reflection of Kaz's goggles, I saw my own terrified face, warped and tiny. "Nobody comes back from the director's suite," Lyra whispered, and her voice was so brittle I thought it would shatter. Kaz pointed a shaking hand toward the vent we'd first crawled through. Miro leaned in close, his voice a frantic hiss. "You don't go. We can hide you. Cal, listen to me. People fucking vanish when they get that call." His hand was on my shoulder, trembling. His whole tough guy act was gone, stripped away. But the voice came again, louder this time. My name stretched out, distorted, like something huge was chewing on it. The vents above us groaned in sympathy. "Cal. Hound. West. If you run, they send escorts," Lyra said, standing up and crossing her arms, a useless defense against the dread in the air. "And you don't want to see the things that wear badges in this place. They don't have faces, Cal." Her words coiled in my stomach. I thought of the carousel, the golden poles. Maybe this was it. Maybe it was just my turn to take a ride. Miro, Lyra, Kaz. They all stood there looking at me with this awful mix of pity and terror. They'd seen this happen before. Miro opened his mouth to say something else, but the third announcement was a physical blow. It shook the entire crawl space, and a shower of fine gray dust rained down on us. "Report, now." The silence that followed was absolute. It felt like the whole building was leaning in, holding its breath, waiting for me to obey. I wanted to run. I wanted to climb back into that vent and disappear into the darkness. But my legs wouldn't move. And I could hear it again, the music, faint, tinny, and warped, winding its way through the vents. The carousel song. Each note was a hook, pulling me out of the stockroom, pulling me toward the director's suite, pulling me toward my seat on the ride that never, ever stops.